I think I recorded the cloud. Okay, hello and welcome. I'm Sarah Seidelman, and I want to welcome to, this is the Hummingbird series where I interview people I think you should know and talk about books mostly, and sometimes films that people I think you would benefit from checking out. And today I have Amanda Gibby Peters with me.
Hello.
Who is from, hello, Amanda. I'm so excited to have you here. She's from simpleshui.com, and that's as in Feng Shui. And she's this amazing person who takes this incredibly complex science kind of Feng Shui, which I'm not even going to attempt to explain what that is, but you know, the science of working with our spaces to enhance our lives and to help us shift things in our lives. And she makes it so simple and it's fabulous. And I had a private consultation with her when we moved into this house, and it just helped the move. It helped. I mean, we just love this house. And she's got so many things to teach us. So I just want her to be here, and we're going to talk about the center of the house.
Yeah.
And so much more.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay. So first of all, I love your space.
Yeah.
So if you see my eyes bouncing around, I'm just taking in all the goodies and the pretties, which is what you want. You want people, you know, one of the things that people mistake for Feng Shui is minimalism or not having a lot of stuff. And that's not it. It can be if that's your jam. But when I explain how to keep energy circulating in a home, it's really about this visual breadcrumb trail. And so when I look at your space, I jump from the picture, the painting behind you, to the globe, to I think it's an elephant. I can't tell on the thing. And then I see the butterflies. But really, my eye is being led by one thing to another. And that's how you want energy to move through your home. You don't want it to rush through. You don't want it to get stuck anywhere. You want it to kind of just prance along. So yeah, I love it.
I love that. Well, and yeah, my house is definitely a maximalist. I've tried minimalism. I realized that people who truly do minimalism and it looks good, that is a very special art.
Yeah, because you gotta know just the thing.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about how to make your home and your spaces feel good, and so they support you and everybody who lives in your home to be the very best that they can be. And one of the concepts Amanda introduced me to when we had our one-on-one consultation was the idea that the center of the home, and maybe Amanda, you can tell people how they define the center of their home, that this is a really one of the most powerful spots for you to work with.
Yeah. So one of the things that when people come to me and we're going to spot treat, say someone in the family is having a struggle, or we're going to address a challenge that the client's having, you know, specific to work or a relationship or money or whatever, I always start at the center because, and it doesn't matter what Feng Shui you practice, and there are many schools out there, but the center is the one area that touches all the different life areas. So whether you use sort of the Western school approach, which is the bagua, you know, your life areas oriented off the front door, or use compass, you always have the center. And it is the area that influences all the areas around it because it's the only one that touches all of them equally. And so before you move into implementing any sort of frequency shift or Feng Shui, you want to make sure that that space is perky so that it can help boost whatever you're doing in those other spaces. And the center itself represents unity, gratitude. For me, it represents health, because if you don't have your health, you can't enjoy the other life areas. And so it's a really great place to go to get to your center, you know, to come back to center, and certainly a great place to go Feng Shui when you want to help someone out, because you really can't Feng Shui other people. It's such an intentional practice that you can't have intentions for other people, but you can create the energy for them to be open to and to respond to the energy improvement around them.
I love that. And I definitely want to dive into that, like how we can work with the energies in our home to to do just that, to maybe support, like maybe, you know, your partner is looking for a new job, or maybe one of your children is struggling with a particular issue in their life, you know, because that's something we talked about in the session as well. So the center of the house for me, I'll just, oh, I don't know if I should do this, but I'm gonna see that little skinny on that doorway? I know, it's like a little messier over there. Just through that hallway, like,
that's life.
yeah, that's so life. That's like the center. So for me, when I go to zhuzh, the center, I make sure that the dining room table is cleared off. I'll put fresh flowers there. I'll turn on the chandelier, you know, make sure there's light, sometimes light some candles there. But talk about, how do you bring that zhuzh, that energy, that.
So the way you zhuzh a space, I love that. The zhuzhing of the shui or the area is you want to interact with it. You know, one of the things I run into is a lot of people have spaces that may be beautifully adorned, but they never use, or they don't frequent, you know, guest rooms and that kind of stuff. And here's the thing, all the pretty things in the world aren't going to do the zhuzhing for you. So you are the biggest influencer of the energy in your space. So just by walking into the space and flipping on the lights, bringing in the flowers, you are actually amping it up. Bringing in, like you just said, the energy enhancer. So turning on the chandelier, you know, bringing in fresh flowers. You know, I even like for the center of the house, having rocks that I've collected on trips, because it really grounds. It has that earth energy, which is earth is the element that's most at home in the center. And so anything that really grounds the energy and sort of, for me, speaks to being able to take things one thing at a time, being able to pace yourself, not feeling this need to multitask, you know, just kind of slowing things down to something that's more sustainable. That kind of energy in the center of the house really favors not only, like I said, supporting everyone, but it keeps that space awake so that it can help all those other spaces that maybe you aren't, you know, engaging with as much. You know, you definitely want to, but starting with the center is most important.
I love that. And it, to me, what I love about Feng Shui is it like really taps into this shamanic idea that your house is alive. It is a being.
Yes.
It wants to be cared for. It wants to be remembered. It wants to be like, thank you. Like, so if there's a room that I haven't thought about that, but there are spaces right now, we probably pretty much use there's one room that is maybe a little neglected. So to remember to go in there and just walk through. And
I tell, you know, when I'm on social media or I'm working with a client, I'm like, you want to see your house as this living, breathing partner. I want you to think of it as a family member. And I can't tell you how many times I've had clients who've heard me say that, who break down and start crying, because the minute that they feel that, they get it. And all of a sudden, all the things that they've neglected or complained about, they feel responsible and accountable for. And it's not about that feeling. It's about transcending that and saying, okay, I'm going to do better now. I'm going to do better by you now. Because really, our houses mostly are going to outlive us. And so it's this idea of, this isn't just your house for a while. You are part of your home's life for a while. You know? So that whole idea of leaving a place better than you found it.
Yeah, that's been my life history. I think we've renovated so many houses. So let's talk more about, or let's dive into this idea of, I remember when we had our consult, you know, we went through some of the areas of the home, and one of like this living room that's behind us happens to be, I guess that must be Western school of Feng Shui, is associated with our oldest child. And it was interesting, like when he was in high school and was, you know, running into some difficulties and challenges that he had shared with me, you know, like you said, I can't set an intention for somebody. I can't change anything for somebody. But one thing you said is, if you want to support somebody who's going through something, somebody who's in the family, you can just attend this area, because that will support that person. I cannot tell you how great that is, because I think, and a lot of the people that are watching this, I have a feeling a lot of us are empaths, healers, parents, you know, yes, lovers. We care so deeply and our hearts are so huge, but we can feel so helpless sometimes. So talk about that, like, how do you work with your clients in order to help them to, support their partners, support their family?
So the first thing I always let people know is you can't feng shui anyone else, right? You can change the energy and everyone benefits from it.
Yeah.
But I'll have so many clients come to me and it's not my clutter, it's my spouse's or it's my kids, it's not me. And here's the thing. You're part of the energy, you're part of that ecosystem. So it kind of is everybody's, right? And so what you want to do is you want to take care of your spaces, because all of us have our own little spaces, even if it's just a bedside table, even if it's just, an area where we read, whatever it is, we have our spaces. So first and foremost, take care of that like it matters. And don't think that a one-time deposit is going to build money in the bank, right? Like you have to keep tending to it. So you can't bring fresh flowers one time and say, well, nothing worked. It becomes ritual. It really is a lifestyle. That's why I say feng shui is not a to-do list. It's a lifestyle. So you have to get into the practice of loving your home and making these deposits of positive energy, okay? Because then that's going to accumulate, and that is going to have its own conversation with people, and help influence those that you're living with to do better or to make changes that, support themselves. The thing that I love to get into with clients is how to use that feng shui map. So most people come to me and they're like, I need to work on my love, or I need to work on my wealth, and here's what we need to do. And like I said, you want to work on all the spaces because, you can have this great energy traveling around, and if it hits a dead zone, you've lost the connection. So, all this hard work for nothing, right? So that's why all the spaces matter. But when you look at that map, so say someone comes to me and says, my daughter's really struggling, and I need to figure out what to do for her. If the daughter's old enough and is interested in having the conversation, certainly that would happen. But let's say that she's not. So the way that the map breaks up is there's all this information. It's this layered understanding of how to use that map, and everyone has a spot on that map. So for people who are familiar with the map, head of household, mom energy, mother energy falls in love and relationship, and head of household, dad or father energy, masculine energy, falls in the helpful people travel section. But then your kids all have spots too. And the way it works is it goes first, second, third born, and then you repeat. So firstborn daughter, so in this scenario, would go to the wealth section. And that's the area you would look in. And so when I say look, feng shui is a very metaphorical practice, which really once you get becomes so fascinating, but a lot of us won't trust our intuition. And, initially, like trying to figure these things out, we're so trained to believe in a right or wrong answer. But we would walk into that wealth area and we would say, okay, is anything here metaphorically matching what your daughter's going through? So say the daughter's struggling and maybe there's some plants struggling, or we go outside and we notice that there's a tree that's not doing so well. Those are things that we're going to address, and those are things that you can do that are going to make a difference for your child's life. And it is fascinating how well it works.
I agree. And I think the beauty of feng shui is that it gives you something actionable, because of course we live in this manifest world, but we are spiritual beings living in these spiritual spaces and inhabiting these places. But this particular system gives you, something that you can do and then watch to see what the results are. And what I found is this just so powerful. Just some of the simple things that you suggested, some simple tweaks to keep the energy flowing, and it's just so powerful. And maybe we'll link like a picture of that Bagua map, or I'll find a way to post that in the comments so that
I would love to share. And I'm happy to, if people want to come back and watch this again, because so let me just go through the kids and tell you where they are at, and then you can write it on the map. So firstborn daughter would be wealth and prosperity. Second-born daughter, fame and reputation. Third-born daughter, children and creativity. And then if you have more, you just start back over. Okay. Firstborn son is going to fall in your family, new beginnings, ancestors area. Your second-born son is going to fall in career and life journey. And then third-born son is going to fall skills, knowledge, spirituality, self-cultivation, that area. And then you just repeat. So everybody is represented in the house. And it's just a really powerful way to look at the space and say, okay, is there something in here that matches what the challenge or hiccup is? Or is there something that I can bring into this space that's going to help boost or bring about what we're trying to manifest for this person, you know, what this person's trying to manifest. So maybe they're trying to get into a school, or, you know, they're trying to adopt, you know, a healthy lifestyle or something, anything like that, that matches or represents that goal, you can bring into that room.
Yeah.
I mean, just really, it's the energy's on tap there. And the thing that I love about Feng Shui is it is within our reach. So we just have to show up in the space and do something. And because, like you said, we're in this universe, the spiritual space, you're going to get a call back. You know, it's a vibrational universe, and you're going to get a call back for whatever effort you put in.
I love that. And I love what you said about, let's just forget about everybody else right now, because the truest power is the power that we have to shift ourselves. And I think I think most of the people, I'm having a hunch that most of the people that are watching are either powerful beings in their own household. So when we impact our energy and in the center of our home, or at our bedside table, or on our, maybe I was just thinking about my bathroom sink, like, you know, and not just making one deposit, but making deposits regularly, keeping those spaces beautiful, energized, clear, reflecting what we would like to reflect back. How powerful is that? Maybe we could talk about like what kinds of, maybe you can talk about what sort of little tweaks to those small spaces that belong to us, like the personal spaces, bedside table.
I would say for the spaces so the closer you are to something, the bigger its influence. That's kind of one of those Feng Shui guidelines. And so I always say that makes a really good argument for buying the best sheets and towels. We're up against that stuff all the time. So you can blame me for that. But no, I would say that when it comes, like, let's say bedside table, one of the things is how quickly it becomes a catch-all. You know, we buy the lotion or the essential oils, or we buy the books, and everything ends up sitting there. Okay. Now, I don't get too picky about people's personal aesthetic. Like, if that works for you, great. But if you're having trouble sleeping, or you're not waking up feeling refreshed, or you wake up and you feel like the day is already on you, I'm going to tell you, let's like purge the bedside table. And I love working with bedrooms because so many times I find in homes, people put the bedroom last because it's not a social area of the space, right? Like, they want to impress people who come over. And so the bedroom's kind of an afterthought, but bedrooms are about self-care, boundaries, love, self-love, all of that. And when we don't prioritize the bedroom, we are not going to be prioritized out in the world. So if you're not taking care of your bedroom, and yet you're complaining that you're not being considered for the promotion, or someone in a relationship is not taking you seriously, hit the bedroom seriously and clear up some of that clutter, because really a bedroom is supposed to be about sensuality, stillness, and sleep. So anything else in there, not a welcome bedfellow, you know, it needs to go. And so you're giving yourself the pleasure of waking up to a blank canvas when you don't have the whole bedside table suffocating with all the things that you're not using. If you use the stuff, keep it. If you read 20 books in a week, keep the stack of books. Otherwise, clear it out. And it's the same thing for the bathroom, you know, like that is, so any horizontal space is really representative of creativity. And again, when there are so many things covering it, you don't have room to receive the inspiration. So say you're taking the shower, right? And you've got all these ideas coming to you, and then you step out and all the stuff's there. You know how easy it is to lose ideas.
Yeah.
Right? Because you want that landing zone for the ideas to stay. And I know it sounds kind of hokey, but it works. You know, that's why the clutter comes into the conversation so much, because it really speaks to what is the quality of energy that you're aiming for. And then make sure that the space looks like it.
Yeah. And for me, that begins with the practice of, keeping things simple from the get-go. So like, instead of if I can have one skin product versus 20 different things that I'm trying to store, like decide, keep it very simple, and that begins with a philosophy. But when we want to have that clarity, because our creativity is important.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, because I get so concerned about the planet. So my thing is don't go clearing stuff just for the sake of clearing stuff. Like really connect to what it is that you're trying to create and understand why you're letting go of something, because when you connect with that, you are less likely to repeat the offense, right?
And unconsciously continue to collect.
Yeah, because a lot of people do. I mean, that's the whole thing with just the clearing clutter movement. As great as it is, you get rid of stuff, but so many people reaccumulate because they haven't addressed the why. Like why that's a self-soothing, you know, um, approach in their lives. A lot of us just buy things because it's insulation from something.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where Feng Shui can really help, because when you start understanding where your clutter lives, you go, oh my gosh, like like if I say to someone, well, your whole love and relationship section's clutter.
It's like,
the consult's done. They're in there cleaning up the clutter. I promise you.
And again, that's the beauty of this. It is actionable, people. And that's what most of us are looking for. How do I do this? And it's great instructions. And then just like in shamanic work, we just see what happens when we apply the wisdom of the Feng Shui, what happens. And you guys, this book is Amanda's new book, and it is so phenomenal. And it's so phenomenal for you and for me, because it is like one tip per day for the whole year. So I thought it was really cool. I was going to read today's, because the day that we're filming this is actually February 24th. And the tip is, if you have clutter from past relationships or periods in your life that drum up negative feelings, let those items go. Good feelings multiply themselves, and anything else divides them up.
Boom.
Oh, this is an example of one of the, so I keep this in our bathroom along with a couple other of my favorite kind of spiritual daily readers, and just quick glance at this, and some of them are deeper and may make you inspire you to do a project on a weekend, but a lot of them are just very quick thoughts, okay, where am I at with that? And so it's a wonderful way to start learning about this very complex thing, because Amanda makes it super simple, and her book is Simple Shui for every day. And she's also available for hire for consults. And tell us more, how else, people can obviously follow you at Instagram and Facebook.
And they should, because that's where there's so much information. I am super generous, in terms of here it is, run with it.
Yes.
As best you can. But yeah, in consults, the great thing about having a consult is you can get so specific. So obviously whatever I share on the socials has to stay universal. Otherwise it gets really complicated fast. So in a consult, we're able to address you, we're able to address everyone in the family, and really speak specifically to your house. The other advantage is that I can bring in the different schools of Feng Shui depending on what you're going through. So we can shift depending on what the challenges are or what the objectives are. So it gets fun and you learn so much. And the thing that I love most is that once you've had a consult, and I think you can probably speak to this too, you can't ever see your house the way you did before. Everything changes. And so you carry that with you the rest of your life. And I just love that. You go into spaces and you realize you're in conversation with the space. And that's the best thing, right? You just show up differently everywhere you go.
And we have spaces in our house that are totally magical. And because of what Amanda taught me about them and showed me how to work with them, it's I just go in there and I'm like, yeah. So I highly recommend it. But for starters, get this Simple Shui for every day, because it's these bite-sized bits of this ancient wisdom that has been around for a long time. And it's not because but I believe it's because it works. And it's just,
yeah, I say that all the time. Wisdom is what works. That's why it's been thousands of years. And, I don't know that people know, but it's based on thousands of years of observations of nature. So there's certain patterns that just have been studied. So when people are like, oh, that's woo, no, it's nature. Yes. And those principles and concepts and understandings over time were applied to spaces and places, and it is what it is today. So there's so much, once you step into it, you realize, wow, I can go really to the deep end of the ocean here.
So awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you.
And I'll have a link so you can find Amanda's book and her website and her Instagram and everything and follow her. And it's been a delight.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. I always love our conversation so much.
Me too.